The first warning came as a ripple across the void. Sensors flickered, alarms whispered through the quiet corridors of the human colonies on Vesta Prime. At first, the analysts dismissed it, a glitch, a false reading. Then the shadows appeared. Hundreds of alien warships emerged from hyperspace, their engines humming like a predator's heartbeat, each ship a black arrow pointing at humanity. The Legion had arrived. From orbit, Commander Alina Reyes watched the display board glow red. Triangular ships, each the size of a small city, moved in perfect unison. Their formation was almost hypnotic, calculated, unyielding, and deadly. "They've coordinated beyond anything our simulations can model," Reyes muttered. The Legion didn't just fly, it swept. The motion of a single vessel could rearrange an entire fleet like a single terrible organism. On the ground, the people of Vesta Prime felt the shadows first, as fear. Windows rattled, lights flickered, and the horizon darkened. The alien fleet's scanning beams swept across the cities like giant fingers probing the surface, each light streak a promise of devastation. The colony's defense drones buzzed to life, tiny specks in a storm that could crush them. Reyes clenched her fists. "All units, report." Her voice was calm, but beneath it ran a current of urgency. Reports streamed in, a supply convoy trapped. In the asteroid belt, a mining station under scrutiny. Local fighters scrambling to intercept scout drones. Every human ship was outnumbered, often 50-1, and yet they fought back, not with overwhelming firepower, but with improvisation, courage, and sheer will. A single frigate, the Valor, weaved between icy asteroids, dodging swarms of Legion. Drones. Its captain, Lieutenant Rami Khalid, didn't wait for orders. He improvised. He led his crew through impossible maneuvers, threading the ship through asteroid belts that would crush a less daring pilot. Each laser fired, each evasive roll, each narrow escape made a statement. Humans don't break. They adapt. Meanwhile, the Legion's command observed through holographic projections. Analysts flicked through simulations, marking human colonies as statistically insignificant. Their calculations were precise, yet every model failed to predict human behavior. In one simulation, a single fighter, outnumbered 100-fold, had outmaneuvered an entire drone swarm. In the next, a small human squad had disabled a weapon platform twice its size. Every failure baffled them. "They rely on instinct over logic," one alien murmured, eyes glowing in the projection chamber. "Their will is anomalous." Back on Vesta Prime, civilians huddled in underground shelters as the first alien probes struck the outskirts. Buildings collapsed under plasma fire, but humans fought back with precision. Engineer teams used scavenged weapons to set traps, luring the Legion's drones into ambushes. Fires illuminated the night sky, the flames painting desperate shadows across the faces of those who refused to flee. Even when crushed beneath superior firepower, human fighters emerged from wreckage to fight again. Commander Reyes knew the truth. The Legion measured strength in numbers, in fleets, and firepower. Humanity measured it differently, in will. Every human alive, from the lowest civilian to the highest officer, carried the spark that no algorithm could predict. A transmission crackled over secure channels. "Commander, the scouting fleet is maneuvering into position. They underestimate us." Reyes tightened her grip on the console. "Then let's make them regret it." Above them, the black triangular forms of the Legion loomed like silent giants. Below, humans dug in, improvising, surviving, daring to fight where death was expected. The first battle had not yet begun, but already the Legion understood a dangerous truth. Humans would not yield, even when everything suggested they should. And that understanding, fragile and small, would become the seed of terror for the Legion. The void was silent, yet the tension pressed on every human chest like a physical weight. Lieutenant Rami Khalid gripped the controls of the Valor, eyes scanning every shadow between the asteroids. Behind him, the small convoy he led was scattered, fragmented under the looming presence of the Legion scouts. Each human ship was a candle flame flickering against the darkness of 1,000 alien predators. The first attack came without warning. Swarms of triangular drones swirled from the shadows like angry hornets, plasma streaking toward the convoy. Human sensors barely had time to register their numbers. "Brace for impact!" Khalid barked, flipping switches with practiced precision. Thabe, frigate's engines screamed as it twisted between icy asteroids, firing pulses of energy that barely grazed the nearest drones. One struck the hull, sending a shudder through the deck, but Khalid's hands never faltered. Every maneuver was instinctive, each decision a thread woven from years of training and the unyielding will to survive. Behind him, smaller ships tried to maintain formation. Many were clipped by plasma bursts, their hulls sparking, alarms blaring. Yet even as ships were forced off course or crippled, human crews refused surrender. Engineers jacked into consoles mid-combat, rerouting power to shields and weapons. Pilots, their visors streaked with sweat, dodged through asteroid craters as explosions lit the darkness like fireworks of death. From the Legion's perspective, it should have been simple. 50-1, overwhelming firepower. Yet every simulation, every probability crumbled in the face of human unpredictability. One drone swarm would corner a human frigate only to find it vanished into a field of spinning asteroids, emerging behind the attackers to cripple their formation. Another swarm would be lured toward a dense asteroid cluster, only to strike an ambush of concealed human drones waiting in the shadows. In the Legion command ship, the alien admiral's glowing eyes widened. "Why do they evade every strike?" His voice hissed like static across comms. Analysts whispered in panic. "It is not calculation. It is instinct. Their will is be resistant." Back in the thick of battle, the Valor's shields flared under another direct hit. Sparks cascaded down the walls, and a wave of smoke rolled over the bridge. Khalid's co-pilot, Mara Ven, yelled over the chaos, "Hull breach on port side! We'll be torn apart if we slow down!" "Then don't slow down," Khalid snapped, a grin flickering across his face even as adrenaline surged. "We improvise. We survive." That's what they didn't predict. Using the asteroid field as cover, the Valor twisted through the labyrinth, drawing drones into collisions with jagged rocks. Explosions rocked the void in staccato bursts, shards of metal and fire tumbling into the darkness. Behind them, the rest of the convoy followed the same unpredictable path, evading death with split-second timing. The battle reached a crescendo when a Legion strike cruiser unleashed a massive energy net designed to trap the entire convoy. For a moment, it seemed hopeless. Ships were caught, thrusters frozen. But Khalid acted instinctively, guiding the Valor through the edge of the net, skimming past massive arcs of electricity. His crew followed his lead, their will unbroken. One by one, the trapped ships freed themselves, turning what should have been a massacre into a tactical withdrawal. As the convoy regrouped beyond the asteroid belt, silence settled like a fragile veil. The Valor's hull was scorched, the sensors battered, yet not a single human life was lost. Khalid exhaled, eyes scanning the dark horizon. Somewhere out there, the Legion was recalculating, their confidence shaken. Commander Reyes, monitoring the battle from orbit, allowed herself a brief smile. "They measure strength in numbers," she whispered into her comms, voice steady despite the tension. "We measure it in will, and they've just learned that we never give up." The convoy limped toward the safety of Vesta Prime, shadows of the alien scouts still patrolling the outer system. Humanity had survived the first test, not because of firepower or technology, but because of courage, instinct, and the unbreakable will to fight even when every calculation predicted defeat. The Legion's flagship hung in orbit like a malignant star, its hull glinting cold and unfeeling. Inside, holographic projections flickered across the command chamber, casting strange shadows over the alien analysts' elongated faces. Numbers, probabilities, and simulations scrolled endlessly, but none made sense. Humans did not fight by rules. They defied them. "Report again," the Admiral hissed, his voice like grinding metal. "Why do they escape every trap we set?" And analyst projected the most recent simulation, a single human frigate, outnumbered 50-1, twisting through asteroid fields, evading swarms, and striking the Legion's own drones with precision. The holographic figures collapsed, destroyed by a combination of instinct and sheer will. "They improvise," another alien murmured, eyes flickering with confusion. "Their decisions are unpredictable. Calculations fail. Patterns break." The Wayne Admiral's glowing eyes narrowed. "Impossible. Their numbers are insignificant. By logic, they must surrender or die." But the humans didn't surrender. They never had. On the bridge of the Valor, Lieutenant Khalid traced new vectors through a sector filled with drifting asteroid shards. He knew the Legion's algorithms assumed one predictable path. He had another. "Mara, take the port flank. I'll draw them through the belt," Khalid ordered. His voice was calm, precise, but beneath it ran the electricity of adrenaline. Every ship, every crew member trusted his instinct as if it were prophecy. Outside, space erupted in chaos. Legion drones lunged forward like relentless predators, beams slicing through debris. Khalid's frigate danced between rocks, firing pulses of energy at perfect angles, deflecting beams, shattering drones before they could regroup. One moment the ship was visible, the next vanished into the asteroid shadows, leaving the Legion's calculations broken and fragmented. Back in the Legion command chamber, alarms blared as the simulation showed drones destroyed in impossible positions. The holographic analyst screamed in frustration, swiping at the projections. "They move against probability, against logic." The Admiral slammed a clawed hand onto the console. "Human are anomalies. Every prediction fails. They are resistant to the algorithms, resistant to fear, resistant to defeat." Meanwhile, the human convoy pressed forward, small ships weaving around each other, each following instinct. Over protocol, engineers rerouted power mid-flight to shields and weapons. Pilots risked collisions, knowing precise timing could turn catastrophe into advantage. Death danced on their tail, yet they remained unbroken. Khalid's eyes flicked. To the radar, a Legion strike cruiser was moving to cut them off. It should have been the end. Yet, in the chaos of asteroids and debris, he spotted a flaw, a small blind spot in the cruiser's sensor array. With a surge of resolve, he led the convoy through it, weaving like shadows between the machine's targeting systems. Energy beams missed by inches. Explosions shattered nearby rocks, sending showers of debris into space. The human ships emerged battered, but intact. The cruiser faltered, forced to recalculate against behavior it could not predict. "Every time they act, it is unpredictable," Maraven whispered over the comm. "They can't anticipate us. Not really." The Valor's hull creaked as another strike glanced off the shield. Khalid's gaze hardened. "And they never will. That's our advantage. Numbers are predictable. Will is not." In orbit above Vesta Prime, Commander Reyes allowed herself a grim smile. Humanity had revealed a truth the Legion could not comprehend. Their calculations were meaningless against spirit, courage, and adaptability. Every move, every daring maneuver, every life that refused to yield was proof that human strength could not be measured in numbers. The Legion would regroup, they would recalculate, but the humans had already carved chaos into their plans. For the first time, the aliens understood a dangerous truth. Humans were not merely fighters, they were unbreakable, will incarnate, and that understanding would haunt every simulation, every algorithm, every battle to come. The void of space felt heavier now, thick with tension, as if the darkness itself waited for the humans to falter. Legion warships loomed like black monoliths, blocking every exit from the Vesta system. From orbit, Commander Reyes watched the alien fleet tighten its grip, a perfect blockade designed to crush hope before it could ignite. Establish perimeter defenses, evacuate civilians to underground shelters. We hold them here, Reyes ordered, voice steady, but eyes sharp. The human colonies on Vesta Prime had no illusions. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and surrounded. Yet not a single soldier hesitated. Not a single civilian ran in blind panic. Fear existed, yes, but it breathed determination. In the asteroid belt, Lieutenant Khalid's frigate and convoy maneuvered through a field of jagged rocks, using them as shields against the first volleys of plasma fire from the Legion's strike cruisers. Explosions illuminated the void like deadly fireworks, casting jagged shadows over twisted metal and ice. Every hit that missed the humans only added to the spectacle, each flicker of destruction a testament to the fragility of alien overconfidence. "They're herding us, like prey," Mara Venn muttered, gripping her console. Her knuckles were white. "And yet they can't predict what we'll do next." Khalid didn't answer. He didn't need to. His eyes followed the patterns, anticipating not what the Legion expected, but what they feared. The humans twisted through the asteroid field, evading fire with a mix of instinct and daring. Drones collided with floating rocks, energy beams ricocheted into enemy hulls, and yet the convoy stayed intact, proof that will could turn even desperation into a weapon. The first boarding attempt came without warning. Legion pods, small and lethal, hurled themselves toward human ships, breaching hulls with terrifying precision. On board the Valor, alarms screamed as the hull integrity dropped in sections. Khalid barked orders, and humans reacted like a living organism. Engineers sealed bulkheads. Soldiers met the intruders in corridors, and pilots diverted auxiliary power to defense systems. Every human fought with ingenuity, improvisation, and relentless courage. The Legion, however, was unprepared for one thing. Humans didn't die quietly. Every boarding attempt was met with ambushes of fire, traps, and countermeasures crafted in moments of desperation. Pods were ripped apart mid-air, and corridors that should have been slaughter zones became death traps for the invaders. The aliens. Calculations had failed. Every tactic designed to overwhelm by numbers crumbled under human unpredictability. Above, the Legion command was in chaos. Holographic simulations flickered uncontrollably as analysts screamed over failed predictions. "They anticipate nothing, yet react perfectly," one cried. The Admiral's glowing eyes narrowed. "It is not strategy. It is will. Pure, unbroken will." Back on Vesta Prime, civilians watched fires streak across the skies from underground bunkers, their eyes reflecting both fear and awe. Children clutched their parents, yet no scream went unheard. Humanity's resilience was a living spectacle, a defiance of fate itself. Soldiers, engineers, and pilots, all ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances, had turned the blockade into a gauntlet that even the Legion could not control. Khalid's frigate led the convoy through the final choke point, emerging battered, but triumphant. The Legion's strike cruisers had underestimated their target. One by one, the humans slipped through the net, their will stronger than any trap the aliens could devise. Commander Reyes, monitoring the withdrawal, allowed herself a rare nod of satisfaction. "They measure strength in numbers," she murmured. "We measure it in will, and will is something no fleet can contain." For the first time, the Legion realized the uncomfortable truth. Numbers could crush, intimidate, and overwhelm. But against a species that refused to bow, that refused to surrender even when surrounded, numbers alone were meaningless. Humans didn't calculate. They endured, adapted, and overcame. In the silence after the chaos, the void seemed to hold its breath. The humans had survived a siege designed to annihilate them. The Legion had tasted their will, and it was a flavor they did not like. Silence hung over the Vesta system like a taut wire, broken only by the distant hum of damaged alien cruisers and the occasional hiss of human engines. Lieutenant Khalid stood on the bridge of the Valor, his eyes sharp beneath the glow of fractured control panels. The humans had survived the siege, but survival was no victory. The time to act had come. "Commander Reyes, what's our status?" Khalid asked through comms, voice calm but edged with urgency. Reyes's image flickered on the main screen. Her expression was focused, unyielding. "The Legion underestimated us. Their cruisers are scattered and overextended. We strike tonight. Every human ship ready?" A chorus of affirmative responses crackled back. Engineers and pilots alike knew the stakes. This was no longer defense. This was retaliation. And humans fought differently when the fight was theirs to dictate. The Valor led the convoy through the asteroid belt once more, this time with a singular purpose: hit the Legion where they were weakest. Using the shadows of massive asteroids, Khalid guided the ships into positions unseen, invisible to alien sensors, overconfident in their calculations. Every maneuver was a gamble, every angle a chance to exploit the predictable rigidity of the enemy. Then the first strike erupted. Human drones, small but devastatingly agile, darted out from cover, raking through alien cruisers with precision pulses of energy. Explosions blossomed across the void, painting the darkness in streaks of red and gold. Legion ships scrambled, reacting too slowly, their formations fractured. Mara Ven's voice cut through the bridge comms. "Lieutenant, they're trying to regroup. Multiple cruisers converging. Then we make them scatter more," Khalid replied, his hands dancing over the controls. The Valor twisted through the battlefield, firing synchronized volleys that shattered drone formations. Smaller frigates flanked the larger cruisers, exploiting gaps the Legion hadn't even realized existed. The Legion's command erupted in panic. Analysts shouted over failing projections, alien voices rising in hysteria. "Impossible! They are coordinated but unpredictable!" "That's humans for you," the Admiral hissed, slamming a clawed hand onto the console. "They don't fight like any species we've cataloged. They think differently. They act with will." Back on the human side, the battle intensified. Pilots executed daring maneuvers, weaving between debris fields and enemy fire. Boarding parties struck from unexpected angles, disabling weapons, and causing cascading failures in alien cruisers. Every time the Legion recalculated, the humans had moved somewhere else entirely. Their unpredictability was a weapon more lethal than any missile. Khalid's frigate skirted close to a crippled cruiser, exploiting a venting energy conduit. With a precise pulse, the ship ignited a chain reaction that tore through the hull, sending fragments spiraling into space. Mara Ven let out a sharp whistle. That's going to leave a mark in their simulations. It wasn't just firepower, it was strategy born of will, of courage that refused to wait for orders or probability. Every human maneuver was a declaration. They would not bend, they would not falter, and they would dictate the terms of battle. In orbit above Vesta Prime, Commander Reyes coordinated the counterstrike with surgical precision. Human forces once cornered, now dictated the rhythm of combat. Legion cruisers were falling, swarming drones shredded, and the alien morale crumbling under the realization that numbers alone could not defeat humans. Even in victory, Khalid didn't relax. His eyes scanned the void, searching for patterns in chaos. One thing was clear: the Legion had learned something dangerous. They had tasted human will, and it burned hotter than any plasma volley. The convoy regrouped after the first wave, battered but undefeated. Communications lit up with reports of victory across multiple sectors. The humans had turned defense into offense, chaos into strategy, and survival into dominance. "Remember this," Khalid murmured, voice low but firm. "They measure strength in numbers. We measure it in will. And tonight, our will has spoken louder than their fleet ever could." The Legion's flagship loomed like a black mountain in the void, its massive hull reflecting the shattered remnants of its fleet. Even from orbit, its presence exuded menace, a silent promise of annihilation. But the humans were no longer on the defensive. Every surviving ship in the convoy had been honed into a single, razor-sharp edge. Tonight, they would strike at the heart of the Legion. "Coordinates set," Lieutenant Khalid announced, eyes fixed on the holographic map of the enemy fleet. "Every strike must hit their command nodes, disable their sensors, cripple their communications. We move fast and hit hard." Maraven's hands hovered over the console. "This is a suicide run if we miscalculate." Khalid smiled faintly. "Then we won't calculate. We improvise." The confidence in his voice was contagious. The human pilots, engineers, and soldiers felt it in their bones. Fear existed, yes, but courage burned hotter. The Valor led the convoy into the Legion's formation. Energy beams lanced out from alien cruisers, but the humans slipped through, asteroid shadows, twisting, diving, and dodging in ways no algorithm could predict. Small frigates flanked larger ships, striking at weak points while drawing fire away from the convoy's center. The void became a swirling ballet of light, metal, and destruction. Inside the Legion flagship, the command chamber erupted into chaos. Analysts swiped desperately at projections, but numbers offered no answers. They should be annihilated," one screamed, tentacles shaking. "Our firepower exceeds theirs 50-fold. The Admiral's glowing eyes narrowed. Then, logic fails. This is will. Pure, unrelenting will. Counter it if you can. On board the Valor, Khalid identified a massive venting array on the flagship's hull, a single vulnerability in the otherwise impervious structure. "Target that array. Fire coordinated pulse strikes," he ordered. Every human ship adjusted in perfect synchrony, not by calculation, but by instinct honed through battle. The pulse beams struck the venting array. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then a chain reaction spread through the flagship's outer hull. Explosions rippled across its surface, sending debris spinning into the void. Legion drones swerved to avoid collisions, only to crash into each other in cascading failure. The flagship shuddered violently, alarms screaming through the alien vessel. Mara's voice was tight with exhilaration. "It's working. The flagship's compromised." Khalid didn't smile. He stayed focused. The Legion was formidable, and overconfidence could kill. Yet even as drones swarmed to defend their command center, the humans pressed their advantage, striking at weak points the aliens hadn't even noticed. Boarding pods hit in unexpected sectors, disabling weapons and sabotaging critical systems. Every move shattered the Legion's numbers-driven strategy. In the flagship's command chamber, the Admiral's claws clenched. They are everywhere, yet nowhere predictable. Retreat is illogical." The human strikes were precise but relentless. Explosions lit the void like fireworks in a dark festival, each one a testament to ingenuity, courage, and unyielding will. Ships that should have been destroyed by superior firepower survived, counterattacked, and shattered alien formations. Khalid's eyes swept across the battlefield. One by one, the Legion cruisers faltered, crippled by attacks that were impossible to anticipate. The flagship shuddered again, its systems failing, communications down, and morale collapsing. The humans had done the unthinkable. They had broken the heart of the enemy fleet without relying on raw numbers, but on strategy, courage, and pure will. Even in the void, the Legion felt something unfamiliar. Fear. Fear not of death, but of the human spirit, unpredictable, unrelenting, and impossible to crush. Commander Reyes's voice came over the comms, calm but fierce. "We've shattered their center. They will regroup, but we dictate the battlefield now. This is what it means to measure strength in will." The human convoy regrouped, battered but victorious. The Legion flagship lay crippled, surrounded by twisted wreckage and drifting debris. Humanity had done the impossible, turned desperation into dominance, chaos into strategy, and fear into a weapon. The Legion's fleet was in disarray, drifting through the void like wounded beasts. Their flagship smoldered, crippled and silent, while fractured cruisers limped aimlessly among the debris. Yet the humans knew better than to let complacency take root. Survival had been earned. Victory would be forged in the final, unrelenting strike. "Prepare for boarding," Commander Reyes ordered, her voice cutting through the comms with icy precision. "We take the flagship. We end this war. Every capable crew member, every soldier, every engineer, this is our moment." Lieutenant Khalid's frigate sliced through the wreckage-strewn battlefield, weaving between jagged debris and drifting Legion drones. Pilots held their breath as energy blasts streaked past, but no human faltered. Their movements were fluid, instinctive, a choreography born of determination rather than calculation. They were the storm the Legion never anticipated. Inside the HumAlien flagship, the alien command chamber was chaos incarnate. The Admiral's tentacles trembled over failing consoles. They continue," he hissed. "Every algorithm we've used fails. How can a species so small defy the universe? Itself?" From the human's perspective, the answer was simple. Will. Pure, unbreakable, unrelenting will. Boarding pods ejected from the Valor and supporting frigates, hurtling toward the flagship's venting hatches. Humans braced for impact, their armor battered but spirits unbowed. Explosions rocked the alien vessel as they pierced the hull, twisting corridors into death traps for unsuspecting Legion soldiers. Every ambush, every improvised barrier, every counterstrike was executed with precision, born of desperation and courage. Khalid led his team, down a corridor lit only by flickering warning lights, and the glow of energy burns from above. "Stay sharp. Their command center is just ahead," he murmured. Every step was tense, the metallic smell of smoke and ozone thick in the air. Alien patrols appeared in the shadows, their movements calculated, but humans were unpredictable. Every corner turned, every angle cleared, they struck with unrelenting determination. Above, the battle raged on. Human ships circled the flagship, firing disruptor pulses that tore through weapon systems and communications arrays. Drones fell like leaves in a storm, their swarm patterns broken by human ingenuity. The void itself seemed to vibrate with the clash of resolve against overwhelming force. Khalid's team breached the command chamber. The alien admiral turned, eyes blazing with fury and disbelief. "Impossible. Mere mortals cannot—" "They're not just mortals," Khalid interrupted, raising his weapon. "We're humans, and humans measure strength in will, not numbers." The fight was brutal. A clash of instinct, strategy, and raw determination. Alien claws and energy weapons met human shields and calculated improvisation. One by one, the Legion soldiers fell, outmaneuvered and outwilled at every turn. Khalid's team pressed forward relentlessly, each member moving as a single entity of purpose and resolve. Finally, the Admiral's defenses crumbled. The chamber's energy conduits exploded around him and he fell to the floor, defeated not by brute force, but by the unshakable will of humanity. The Legion flagship fell silent, its systems down, its crew captured or incapacitated. On the Valor, Reyes's voice rang out, steady and commanding. "Signal to all surviving Legion units, surrender or face destruction. Humanity decides the terms." In the silence that followed, the human convoy regrouped, battered, but undefeated. The battle had been won not because they outnumbered the Legion, but because they refused to break, refused to yield, and refused to be predictable. Humanity had proven that courage, ingenuity, and sheer willpower could overcome any opponent. Even among the stars, the echoes of their victory were clear. A species underestimated could rise to shatter impossibilities. The Legion had learned the hard truth. Numbers could intimidate, weapons could destroy, but will could defy the universe itself. The void of the Vesta system was littered with wreckage, smoke, and drifting debris, but humanity's fleet glided through it like a force reborn. Silence reigned where chaos had raged, a haunting testament to the ferocity of the battle just ended. Every surviving human ship bore scars of combat, yet each hull shimmered with triumph. The victory had been earned with grit, ingenuity, and unrelenting will. Commander Reyes stood on the Valor's bridge, her eyes fixed on the remains of the Legion flagship. "This was never just a battle for survival," she said softly. "It was a statement. Humanity exists, not because we are the strongest by numbers, but because we refuse to surrender, no matter the odds." Lieutenant Khalid watched the drifting alien cruisers, their once intimidating formations now twisted shells. He could feel the weight of the victory, but also the responsibility it carried. The galaxy had underestimated humans for centuries, and now that misconception had been shattered in a storm of courage and resolve. "Sensors picking up activity," Maraven reported, tension in her voice. "Legion command fragments attempting to regroup. They're panicked, disorganized, afraid." "Good," Khalid said, a faint smile breaking his usually stoic expression. "Let them know the rules have changed. Let them see that will, not numbers, defines humanity." The surviving Legion ships were left to drift, their communications disrupted, their weapon systems crippled, and their morale shattered. Humans didn't pursue annihilation. They were strategic, precise, and deliberate. They wanted the galaxy to remember that the strength of a species wasn't in the size of its fleets, but in the fire that burned within its hearts. Khalid led a reconnaissance mission to the flagship's bridge. The halls were silent except for the faint hum of damaged systems. Here and there, alien soldiers sat immobilized, staring blankly at consoles that no longer functioned. Every step forward reminded Khalid that the battle was more than physical. It had been mental, emotional, and moral. The Legion had measured strength in numbers, but humans had demonstrated something far more formidable: willpower. The final confrontation had left its mark. The Admiral of the Legion was captured, unyielding in pride, but defeated nonetheless. Khalid met the alien's gaze, not with triumph, but with calm authority. "Your calculations failed because you underestimated a force you could not measure, the human will. That is why you lost." In the distance, the surviving human fleet formed a cohesive line, gleaming under the fractured light of the Vesta system's star. Ships of every size and design hovered in synchronized formation, a testament to the ingenuity and unity of humanity. The galaxy would remember this display, not as mere victory, but as a lesson in resilience, creativity, and courage. Rhea's voice cut through the comms one last time. "Let every corner of the galaxy hear it. Humanity is not defined by numbers, but by resolve. Every challenge will meet the same answer. We endure, we adapt, we prevail." Khalid felt a surge of something rare and profound. Pride, not in destruction, but in the demonstration of humanity's spirit. This battle was over, but the legacy had just begun. Other civilizations would whisper of this day, of the small species that defied overwhelming odds with nothing but will, ingenuity, and courage. As the human fleet charted a course home, the stars themselves seemed to shimmer brighter, as if acknowledging a new truth. The galaxy had underestimated humans for too long. They had forgotten that the most potent force in the universe was not counted in ships, weapons, or armies. It was measured in hearts unyielding, minds unshakable, and spirits unwilling to break. The void was quiet now, but humanity's message was eternal. Fear the species that measures strength not by numbers, but by will. Moral. True legacy is forged not through domination, but through resilience, courage, and determination. The human spirit proves that even against overwhelming odds, ingenuity and unwavering will can change the course of history, leaving a mark that echoes across the stars.